Kogi State Deputy Governor denies rumors of a rift with his principal, Governor Yahaya Bello. Reps pass 2023 budget, raise estimates to 21.8 trillion naira. Gunmen set ablaze Ihiala Divisional Police Headquarters in Anambra State in Nigeria's southeast. Also tonight on Politics HQ, emotional day for Tigray as commercial flights resume to and from Mekelle. Again, Angola's top court orders the seizure of Isabel dos Santos' assets. Welcome to Politics HQ. I'm Sulaiman Aledeh. Tonight, Adekunle Razaq Aderibigbe, member, Lagos State House of Assembly candidate going to Lagos State House of Assembly, joins me to speak on his aspiration as he moves into the State House of Assembly. Stay with us on Politics HQ. Well, for 23 years, it's been the APC in Lagos State, but more parties are beginning to test their mettle in the governorship race and other political offices. The New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, is one of those parties looking to give the APC a run for its money. Now, does the party have what it takes to give the APC in Lagos State a tough time, as it also charges on the national front? We'll be finding out on Politics HQ as we speak to a candidate of the NNPP going into the Lagos State House of Assembly and the foremost member of the state NNPP. Quickly also, we'll be looking at pretty much how the conversation will go into the election for 2023. Adekunle Razaq Aderibigbe joins me live in the studio. Good to see you and thanks for your time.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure having me.
Well, you know, when we speak of politics, before we start talking about the NNPP, it's quite an interesting one. Covering the 2019 election, I saw a lot of young Nigerians who made incursion into politics, and a few number of them actually went back, staying away from politics. I said to Shawari has been on the show. Shawari is one of those last men standing, and it would seem as if now we're getting to see more young people coming into politics. First, let's start by asking, what's the interest looking at you coming into politics?
Okay, thanks so much again. Coming into politics for me wasn't what I just wake up one day and say, okay, yes, let's go there and let's go and get it. So I've been involved in activism all as well. When it comes to good governance, there are publications that I've been involved with in that regards. Most often I write petitioning infrastructures, maintenance about, all these things. How do we ensure that the people get the value for whatever the governance, be it a public goods or services, people should get this value. This has been my own concern. So the idea of now taking the position was like, it started from the very moment where the credence for this election started. When INEC had started saying, okay, BVAS was coming in and all that. So this gave the limelight, saying it's not going to be the normal, election that we usually get. No, we're not going to get that. We're going to get the device, the technology coming in this case, to mediate in these instances to make sure that whatever it is, counts. When we come to vote, it should count. So this led to, the confidence we have as youth coming in to join this race. And the fact that I'm actually candidate today again, it didn't just happen like I wanted to. Friends, people called and said, look, you've been involved in this, you've been involved in ensuring that we get good governance. So why not come in, as a lawmaker, participate in this election at this point in time? And this is how the whole thing started, and here we are today.
Actually watching, looking at governance, writing, and it looks more or less like you've always had maybe an opposition, player position, or like a shadow government telling the people or the government what they should be doing. But again, let's speak about your people. Speak to us about your people in Ikorodu. You're running for the Lagos State House of Assembly. What's that constituency?
Ikorodu 1 constituency.
It's Ikorodu 1?
Ikorodu 1.
And how unique is Ikorodu 1?
Okay, so Ikorodu 1 happens to be a vast area, and interestingly is part of the Ikorodu that is very attractive. You see people coming in most times, to come and, play around, to come and meet people around Ikorodu. And the interesting part is, how do we retain them? So most often, some would want to rush back. People have properties in this area because I can tell you for a fact, Ikorodu is friendly, Ikorodu is hospitable. You always want to come in to play around. But again, when it comes to the infrastructure, the deficit part now is what makes these people there cry, is what reduces the size of income, it's what reduces the size of wealth. So we believe by the time this emphasis is laid on this infrastructure, considering the fact that it could attract so much, this part of Ikorodu is also where you have the lighter port terminal. So in this case, it means it could still attract so much if we have all these infrastructures, making things, move, ease of doing business. If this is there, apparently people living there, people coming to work there would increase in their own wealth as well.
And for the people, we're talking about representative democracy here, and that's where you're headed. And the conversation you should be having with the people will be how to push for, enabling laws that would ultimately bring development to the people. How well do you understand the need? Coming from the perspective of an umpire, from the perspective of a player, from the perspective of a community person who's been writing editorial and, of course, petitions to the government. What have you been able to identify as key, gaps in your Ikorodu 1 constituency?
Okay, so for example, I know if I talk of water is out of it. Everybody provides water there.
Potable water?
No, forget that in Ikorodu. It doesn't happen. But you could come to the roads. Yes, we have some middle roads in Ikorodu, but there are inner roads that needs to be worked on. And these are the ones that I think will drive this development. If you don't have this connecting, that's why we have people complain about the traffic. Yes, the road could have been expanded more. Some points, especially where you have markets around the road, seems to be something that cause this, what's it called, this bottleneck in this instance. But we wanted something that would free all, business should be, there should be ease of doing business. People should be able to live in that area, with peace of mind. So because by the time you start having these things uncoordinated, then you start recording cases of insecurity. So these are part of the laws, part of the motions or the laws that we expect that should speak to these issues. So if we could address this accordingly, after that, we should have more of these people coming in, and we should have more of people doing business in the axis. We should have more of people, increasing their wealth. So if there's anyone that I think, touches me more is the fact that people spend so much not knowing in pains in that location, Ikorodu especially. You find people spending a lot of time in traffic, and it is not at anybody's benefit. People, even their assets, are being degraded. Be it the vehicle, be it houses, people are lamenting for all this. So we believe by the time all these are being addressed, emphasis are placed on this, and we can have these infrastructures around. Apparently, Ikorodu is currently being about the third largest city, in West Africa. So if we have this, I'm quite sure we'll double this number, and it will be hospitable, accommodating all.
You've been speaking and and also going around. Let's talk about the NNPP. For the NNPP to make that audacious presence in Lagos, where we're not talking about the ruling party alone. We're also talking about where the presidential candidate of also the ruling party is from. So how have you been able to make or sell the NNPP to people who for a long time coming have known quite a few political parties like the APC and perhaps maybe the big opposition PDP?
Okay, so thanks for this. Selling NNPP for me has been a usual thing, because I tell people if you must sell a product, then come and look at the value proposition. Before joining, I had understood that it is not in line with a particular leader or a policy of a person, but policies should be, something that works with the institution. So not like when it doesn't favor me, then we should turn it the other way. This is what I have seen in NNPP, that you speak to policies and you have your way. And this is how you should, run an institution, even for the country. So nobody should be superior, to any law or policy. And that's the idea in NNPP rather. So like I said, selling the presidential candidate again is not a problem. This is someone who had promoted, the youth inclusion. He has promoted education, with emphasis. And we have seen that. I have seen and I have met people, even when I never expected, who talk about how the scholarship he gave had transformed lives. And today, they are all independent, one way or the other, doing things in a marvelous way. We have some who have done so well even in the outer country. So this is amazing for me. And I think if you're taking a cue, would have taken this cue, from countries like Indonesia, where they had, promoted their active population, to ensure that they can come back and bring in these developments that we should call desired. So this is a person that I find no issue selling, despite the fact that the what's it called, the popularity of the major party or the ruling party is there. I find no issue selling this candidate or this party.
And I'll come back to your candidate, because you said it doesn't look as if the party is tied around a particular person or, But again, the slogan, you cannot divorce the slogan Konkonsia movement of Rabiu Musa Konkonso and the NNPP. Has anyone in Ikorodu 1 or Lagos State asked the question if your party isn't a regional party?
Okay, so I get that often. Interestingly, and I get to tell them, because most people don't know, that first, the party isn't just a 1 or 2 year old party. It's a party that has been there for like 21 years, established by someone who is even from the eastern part of the country. That's Dr. Boniface. And, taking the fact that it took this year, to get someone coming from the north. And happily, I'm coming from the south. So I don't have issues, selling this, to tell people that this is a party that has a Nigeria identity, not a regional per se. Yes, it's a good thing that the Kokosia, are part of the party today. And I can tell you it's been a plus. The good thing about the Kokosia, even getting to work with them, is the fact that they hold on to the ideology of trust, trustworthiness. So you always want to show that whatever it is that you have with them, not to play that trust, anything that they're doing. So it makes it easier for me working with them or, going around with them. So this is the same thing when they do business with people. So they want to hold on to that ideology. And I don't know any other party, who gets to promote an ideology.
And you say you speak of trust, which is premium here, and also quite a high premium when we talk about politics.
Yeah.
And I spoke with your presidential candidate, Rabiu Musa Konkonso, and I asked him some of the key concerns of Nigerians. They think that he's in the race, not to win. He's in the race perhaps for a deal that ultimately may make him, stand down for another candidate. But he vehemently denied that. So what if that does happen and you're still in the race. You're not worried that that may...
I'm not worried. Again, it won't happen. Let me put it that way. It won't happen. But again, we're playing this scenario, and I said one thing earlier, that by the time I was joining the party, I had ensured that it's a party that held onto the policies, constitution, being above the persons. So it's enough to say that this is not just all about a region. Like I said, it's a party with a Nigerian identity. So any institution at all, anything at all that you want to do, in as much as the policy or the constitution or whatever the laws is not above the person, then you don't find it sustainable. But when you have policies, that are above the persons, then definitely that organization or institution will be sustainable. And that is what I have here.
Sustainability is very key, and for a party that is quite new in a place like Lagos, you have to do a whole lot of work. Recently you granted an interview to Daily Independent, where you were asked strategically to speak about your electioneering campaign, that your party hasn't actually been seen, as we've seen in other political parties, as having what politicians will rightly or wrongly call a mega rally.
Yeah.
So is Lagos looking to get in, a taste of the NNPP mega rally in the days to come?
Okay, obviously Lagos will definitely get a taste of the mega rally, as said, and that's going to come up very close to the election, as expected, because what we had seen is that I want to have a lasting impression, so that's why we'll have that delayed. But nonetheless, like I was telling the interviewer, was that at the end of the day, we look at this mega or the jamboree per se. So what do we take out from there? Basically, it's impression. So what we have been doing strategically is to not just come out to say we're just having a party, we're just having a jamboree, and for nothing. There should be something valuable, and that's why you had seen instances where the presidential candidates, Njaobi Musa Kokoso, had been to places, to open, secretariats, to ensure that people show their presence, in those areas, not just for the sake of making noise. No, there should be something valuable we're doing there. Recently, you see that I think he went to probably Katsina for a condolence visit. It wasn't just a condolence visit, but again, was one that, again, also made the noise, also gave the impression that we wanted. So we're not just doing this for the fun of it. We're doing it, with a value and a basis.
Well, you talk about value. Now, speak to us about the kind of value you've been able to place on your agenda for the people. Your party must have a better incentive that they're offering to the people that will make them do that U-turn from wherever their alignment, they're aligned to at the moment. So tell us about that manifesto of the NNPP.
Okay, so you want to see a party or an ideology or a manifesto that promotes peace, equity, and progress. We had seen these, and that's why if you look at the manifesto, it's centered firstly on promoting education, ensuring that you could have access to education at all levels. And with this, you have the youth, being, carried along. That's youth inclusiveness. In that instance, being the larger part of the population means you have so much taken away from crime. And by the time you have that being inclusive, definitely you to come with the productivity. And by the time you drive productivity, then you have what you call a better or positive GDP. And with this, in the long run, apparently you will get a result by driving towards development. This is the manifesto being simplified. But for my own personal one, yes, I try to promote equity from what I have been doing and ensuring that those who feel they are not, included in the policy are being carried along or taken care of. So this is the basis of my manifesto as well.
And we'll talk about inclusion. You speak of those that are hard done by asking that they be included. What readily comes to mind is looking at a political party whereby, for instance, politicians move across carpets, across the divide. As soon as they find it too hot for them in the political kitchen, they step out. Which brings us to what we've seen in the Labour Party with the obedient movement. Has your party been able to, make that bargain, with any politician, specifically within Lagos but if you don't mind, outside Lagos, to say, come to our fold? Because the only time your party attempted that was with the former governor of Kano State, also, Madam Shekarau, who also left at that point in time. So it looks like your candidate is the biggest fish so far, making it almost a hard sell for some other grassroots politicians like yourself.
Okay, so thanks for that. Like I said, yes, we don't mind losing Shekarau, but definitely we still want some other ones. And the last recent visit by Engineer Musa Kokoso to Katsina, we still had some influx of members of PDP, APC coming into the party, being led by and is serving as of rep member, in Katsina. What that means is, yes, while some people feel they want to ship out because at this point they felt what they're looking for wasn't there, some other people are probably identifying with us, and so they're joining us every day. It's still happening every day. Even for me, in my constituency, people are still joining us almost every day.
And for the Southwest politics, is quite dynamic to the extent that for want of a better word, the Emilokan factor is our turn. You really can't wave that aside. So for the Southwest, they believe that is their turn. In as much as yours is local politics within Lagos State, we're trying to look at how this may or may not affect the gains of your party at the national level. For quite a number of people within Lagos State and outside Lagos State, I mean, the conversation we also had here recently is that they still think that it should have come to Nigeria's southern region, but your presidential candidate is from the north. Is that affecting your campaign when you speak to the people?
Okay, so technically it does, because we have the section of the population, a section of the people who share this ideology, as mentioned. But most times I try to tell them we should always rate competence first. We all have one or two institutions or organizations that will run, or businesses that will run. We don't say because it is my business or it is our business, we should have someone who is with us to say, yes, it should be your turn. But we rather look at the competence. We don't also go to the hospital for the sake of going sick and say, because I wanted this person, because this person is beautiful, this person is the person I like to come and attend to me. No. In that case, what we do or what we look out for, we consider the ailments we have and we say, please, I want the best specialist. So this is what we should look at anytime we're going out to say we want to have a leader. So if we're choosing a leader, let's base it on the competence. Let's base it on what we had seen, the antecedents, and what we expect. That's what is it bringing on board, to solve the issues we have at ground. So I sell my candidature in this manner anytime I meet the people.
And is it easy to assimilate? How is the acceptance level like when you go around Ikorodu 1 constituency?
Okay, so I can tell you the acceptance has been very, very encouraging. At any instance, I can tell you we've been receiving acceptance based on almost like 80%.
80?
I'm telling you.
80%. Here in Lagos?
Here in Lagos, yeah. Because at the end of the day, by the time we drive down the point to say, look, what we're looking at is not just people really wanted the alternative because they're damn tired of the usual. When I say the usual, I meant the major parties, running the show. But so far, so good. They've found so much, that they've been lagged behind. And obviously, they are ready to welcome the alternative. And one of the best alternative that you can take here is the NNPP. So it was easier coming as an alternative at this point in time.
We'll take a moment. When we come back, we'll dig in deeper and speak more about some of the key concerns of his constituents, his people, and of course, speak more of how he hopes to upturn the apple cart in the coming elections. Well, if you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Politics HQ here on News Central Television, broadcasting live to 54 African countries and beyond. And today we're looking at, well, some form of local politics in the southwest of Nigeria, specifically Lagos State. And Adekunle Razaq Aderibigbe is my guest. He's gone in to become a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, representing his constituency of Ikorodu 1. And he's a member of the NNPP. Now, let's drive it home now. The NNPP and your people here in Lagos, specifically when you go around and you talk to the people, because there is an incumbent who is a member of the ruling party, the APC. So how easy is it, speaking to the people, letting them know that, look, there is a need for them to try out the NNPP, and that you specifically, who's always been a rights activist, someone who pushes for issues within the constituency, should be given a try. So paint for us a picture of your daily routine conversation with the people, since we haven't actually seen a mega rally.
Okay, so what we've been doing, from time, is to have the outreach, the door-to-door. And I could tell you that...
Does that still work?
It still works. I can tell you that when you get to meet people door to door, they, after that engagement, they place their allegiance to tell you that, look, I have no other choice. I'm going to do this for you. We've had that commitment at several instances, and that's where I got that 80% when I say. It's interesting that most people at first, yes, would say, please don't just, it's politics, please don't just bring it there. But by the time we try to tell you, okay, so do you still want a situation where you still want the same thing that's happening now that is making you feel discouraged to continue? And they tend to say, okay, what is going to be their own role? And so, okay, look, this is why you're seeing us.
So initially, sorry to butt in here. So initially, there seemed to be a pushback. I don't want to hear anything politics.
Exactly.
And you said that is because they thought that you were of the ruling party.
Exactly. So that happens most often. Once they see and they feel, oh, it's politics, they expected that it's going to be a ruling party coming in. And I said, no, this is why you should look at the alternative. And if you say you want to sit back and let the whole thing, unfold, then again, what you're saying is you still want the same situation to continue. The same situation that you complain about, that you don't want to get involved, will still continue. So until you step up and say you want to change this, you want to change the narrative, that's where you get things changed. So we had been doing this, and I can say it is quite encouraging. We do this very often, and it's very encouraging for us.
I love local politics, and I like to talk local politics. Over a decade ago, we had a series of grassroots governance. So what you're doing is grassroots, democracy, grassroots governance. Yeah. And the people have so much been neglected. I'm not talking about your people, looking at Nigeria, as a whole, speaking of grassroots democracy. So if going around and you're having this conversation with the people, it then means that there seems to be a kind of revivalist movement trying to bring back the whole essence of enlightenment, education to the people. So how are they catching on? Because you're doing this as an individual, you're also doing this as a political party member. Time was when we had agencies of government, National Orientation Agency, during the military regimes, we had MAMSA, you have quite a few called DIFRI. So, Aderibigbe Razaq, speaking to the people, how much of acceptance? I have not been able to catch what the conversation is like on a daily basis with these people, because there's been this disconnect.
Yeah.
So you're trying to bring them back.
Yeah.
Is it working?
Okay, so what I've seen about all this that makes it more interesting for me, most of what we're doing now, it's like sowing, and probably just waiting it. What I know is that at the time when the election draws closer, or when it's time for election, obviously it's like just like the World Cup. While they're preparing, while they're playing the qualifiers, people don't really get involved. Unlike when it's happening, they tune in and they want to see what's happening. They want to catch the thrill. I'm telling you that this election is promising in that regards, and from what we've seen and from what we've learned. One of those things we've also considered is the fact that a couple of times before now, maybe in the last 3 or 4 elections, we've noticed the consistency of having like 30% of the eligible voters coming out to vote. So having around 30% means we have a lot of space, that is an opportunity. So what we're just looking at is how do we ensure that we incite about additional 30 or 40% people, to join this. So this is why we're having this kind of engagement. And for us, for these people as well, knowing that it's the alternative that they can also participate. I've had people who said, I have never voted. And in this case, I'm voting. I had people, giving this kind of, experience. So we believe and we're very positive that by the time it's tuning to that position, that station, or called election, more people are going to be involved in this, and they are going to be discussing
and now you brought a new perspective to it. You're talking about the fence-sitting electorate, or the fence-sitting citizen, who is now saying, wait a minute, for the first time, I think I will want to vote. Yeah. And we're also looking at the first-time voters, those who just turned 18, those who just got their voter cards. Yeah. But the whole idea on D-Day will mean that the whole essence of money politics is ruled out. Exactly. And for the former resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igene, he said, well, looking at the Electoral Act, the election will be won and lost at the polling unit. Does this information about the Electoral Act, which is one of the goods that this administration or this particular National Assembly has gifted the people, is it also making your conversation, your discourse with the people?
Okay, so like I said, it has,
so they know how powerful yes. Yeah. It will build the confidence of the would-be voter.
So what we've seen again is people are now willing. In fact, I still get people coming up, those who didn't register, and I'm still asking, please, can I still register today? It's so funny, to that extent. So what we're seeing now isn't just, like the usual, that is being recycled to come and vote. So we're having more interest. We're having more people coming into the net to say, yes, they're not part of the decision this time around. And they've seen, I think one other thing with this, I don't know why it's unique now, but one other thing with this inclusion, having, the major contenders, having maybe a 4. I think it's one of the first time we're having that. A couple of times we'll be having like maybe 2, at most maybe 3. But the first time we're having like 4 main contestants at the national level, vying for this position. So it means a lot, to the people to now say, okay, whether we like it or not, I'm going to play the role by voting this person. We tried a poll recently within a small group, and we said, okay, these 4 main rulers, let's see who you want to take. And amazingly, yes, we have some being polled more, but people polled, people participated picking from the 4. So, which is not just the usual we've used to having just 2, contenders, running for it. It's at this point, with this poll, I can say that it is not going to be, what we've been seeing, that you could easily predict and say, okay, this is going to be the winner. No, it is not like that.
No, when we say it's not going to be business as usual, one other concern has to do with security. And for your party, time was when politicians like yourself sit with me, to have conversations in an election year. I usually ask them, do you have a thug, or do you have thugs? Do you have people who back you with some form of violence? As much as sad as that sounds, it was the reality back then. So what about now?
Okay.
Is that still the case?
Okay, so now it's been, at least till today, it's been a different ball game. Yes, we have politicians who walk around with thugs. Personally, me, I don't. I don't. But yes, we exchange pleasantries, we talk, because that's the essence. Even if I'm also in the office, we definitely need to engage ourselves. And so how do we take them from the chubby lifestyle, to the normalcy? So this is part of the process. We have to have these engagements. We have to, ensure that we understand what affects them. I also try to talk to them and say, look, whatever you're doing now, do you see this, being passed to your children, or do you see this being done over 10 years? Do you think it is, worth doing? And most times they get to have a rethink. So we get to talk today, we get to engage ourselves, in a mutual manner where, with an understanding that, yes, we all want progress for the country.
And when you converge, and the conversation starts, and it's all done and dusted, do they ask for money?
Of course, that happens often. So you meet them at first, and the first thing they want to say is, oh, the usual they've been used to. Yeah, you guys should bring money before you can say anything. You can't do anything here. No, you must. But again, by the time we've had these instances, this experience, we had to talk to them and say, there was an instance where we were talking to someone at a garage like that, and the guy was like, it was so funny, we discovered that the guy was a graduate. And we said, if you're a graduate, you're not working with whatever the skill, the education you've got now. Do you think this is, feasible? Do you think this is what you want to pass to your children? And he said, yes. No, this shouldn't be transferred. This shouldn't be what should be the situation. So for that reason, we were amazed. The person that was asking for money, someone to say, look, it is not your money I needed. I will spend my money. So I can tell you, we had this
a real life scenario.
I'm telling you, this is a real life story. It happened like maybe 2 weeks ago. So
in other words, you're saying that the enlightenment is catching on with the people?
Definitely, it is.
So how optimistic are you with INEC, the electoral umpire? I know, well, the state elections will hold, but looking at the electoral umpire and seeing the dilemma that the INEC is going through with officers being touched, razed, and facilities destroyed and burnt on D-Day or before D-Day, and what do you hope to see?
Okay, so it's painful that we're having this destruction. Yes, for me, it means it's going to add to the cost that INEC would have, probably budgeted to say they want to do this or that. But technically, I don't know if INEC is doing that, but I had expected that INEC would have insured part of this, what's it called, these perils. So to ensure that they can have, what's it called, a business-free, a sustainability process where they don't have issues that will disrupt the activity entirely, that they wouldn't be able to do what they're supposed to do. I've had instances where people raise concern and INEC had taken a unique, model to say, whether we like it or not, we're going to do this. We don't get this result done. If this fails, there should be a B, C, D, that will work. Presently, I think I still have about 95% confidence in what INEC is doing, and I expect that the result will still be positive at the end of the day, because the INEC has been adamant, to ensure that whatever the Electoral Act has specified, in line with what they have as guideline, though we still have, in terms of the guideline that the INEC issued, we have some little setback. But again, INEC is not acting like maybe the usual, where they are not listening. The INEC we have currently under this, what's it called?
Professor Mahmoud.
Professor Mahmoud seems to be very, what's it called? It takes, information and it reacts, almost like immediately, which is very good for democracy, really. That's very encouraging.
Yeah, are there communities or areas around your constituency, Ikorodu 1, where it just might be impossible or for INEC to get its materials and officers to?
Okay, so I think in the constituency, I think no. Most of the areas are good to go. Where I think I have concerns for some areas where the polling units are not so, they are remote. So that's just a concern for those areas. But obviously, with the kind of engagement we're having.
So there are remote areas in Lagos?
They are, obviously. That the polling units are still, at distance to the neighborhoods there. Yeah, they are. We still have those concerns.
What about journeying to such places? Talking about the roads leading to those places. How easy would it be for anyone to navigate? Okay. For instance, the INEC staff.
So I think recently INEC was requesting for maybe even boats, to ensure that
especially around the riverine areas. Yes,
obviously. So what I see INEC doing with all this is to say yes, they are taking feedback from previous elections, and they want to see that as much as possible. And the president also said he doesn't want to take any excuse from INEC. So as much as possible, they have everything that will make it smooth, and free. So I expect that almost 90% everything should move, in order. Yes, we may have some little setback, where we have some result that will be delayed, but obviously, I think the impacts shouldn't be significant at the end of the day.
Two catchment, blocks I want us to discuss before you go, and it has to do with the women and the youth. But let's start with the women. A vibrant, power block, no doubt, and the kind of conversations before now that people around communities have with these very special vote block is something almost demeaning, giving handouts, food, to the extent that a former governor qualified that as stomach infrastructure. So speak to us on the kind of elevation that people in rural communities, even within Lagos, the hinterlands of Lagos, around Ikorodu, especially the women, how much of enlightenment have they received so far to know full well that, look, well, you shouldn't actually sell your future because it hasn't worked for anyone?
Okay, so I think the women also, when it comes to the last 4 years, they felt it's more because of the inflation. So they are the types who goes to the market and say, look, what I bought last week for this amount, has increased by this amount. So that has been the concern for them, and that has also encouraged some of them to voice out, to come and participate in the electionary process. In this case, they had felt, at several instances they had been excluded. So in this, they want to be, included in these impacts. And I think again, one key thing they always want to do, that when I refer to my constituency women there, they want to do business, and largely they want to have access to credit. So if they could have access to credits, which is part of my own manifesto, I think it would also, break the borders of the limits for them to be able to, promote their wares, sell whatever they want to, and do the trading that is expected of them. Ikorodu is known for doing business. That has been part of the origin. So people there coming in to now do this, or enabling them to do this, would go a long way.
Now let's close on this and the youth bloc. And you just told us you encountered a young graduate who is actually among the thugs who's not been able to gainfully, use his or utilize his skills. So this voting bloc, what's the rapport between you and them?
Okay, so it's been interesting. Yes, at first they always want to, the rejection we always get is, even before you could talk, just give us money. And subsequently, we've gotten some who had also, not just said they want to vote, they actually want to be a part of the process of talking to the people. And they have been. They've been talking to, even their colleagues, to show that, okay, see, we don't need to be this wayward, and we are supposed to be part of the process. We're supposed to be part of a change. So this we had recorded, yes, though not so much at this moment, but we know it's gradually going to build into that, and that's what we have started. So, like I said, I know the interest which we have done now is to sow the seed, and we're watching it. Hopefully, by the time the election comes, they will be more involved in this process.
Adekunle Razaq Aderibigbe, many thanks for speaking with us on Politics HQ.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure.
We'll take a moment. When we come back, we'll be chewing on a little something after now. So, let's start by asking a bit of question. And why is West Africa so prone to coup attempts? If you've been following stories around the west of Africa, you should be bothered. Is it about politics, bad governance, or a brutal military? You see, many governments struggle to achieve good leadership and become more susceptible to coup attempts. Bad leadership leaves a whole lot, a lot of nations at the mercy of, I'm talking about bad leadership leaving a whole lot of nations at the mercy of cracks. And when cracks happen, the bad boys in the army smell blood and try to pounce. Then you have a coup. The Gambia was the latest victim of such attempts. We've seen Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso also fall victim. Do African nations, especially West African countries, think about what makes them weak in the face of military takeovers? Which country is next? What does this say about the state of the region? Africa has a lot to prove, and it has to start now. Enough. Let's see how we can fix the continent. Many thanks for being such a nice company. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.